2, 1. Hey y'all, Jackson Chisholm here, episode 2 of the PeakX podcast. I got co-host with me, Zach. We've got 3 of our guests on today. If y'all don't mind introducing yourself.
Clayton Morris, head coach at Obion County Central.
Nick Markle, head coach at Union City High School.
Eric Knott, head coach, South Fulton High School.
And of course, you guys know me. Now, these guys, I'm so fortunate I actually know a couple of these guys from growing up, but these are all the high school coaches here in Obion County. They lead their respective football programs. We're going to have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, they've got season coming up. Some of them just got out of football camp. They've got preseason stuff going on, preseason workouts. With football season right around the corner, I'm sure there's a lot these guys can talk about. They got position battles. They've got what they're trying to specialize in, offense, defense, what they're getting ready for, maybe what team they're prepping for. So there's just different things like that we can dive into. But before we get to that, I want to run through y'all about PeakX. We're still doing our giveaway. If there's somebody out there who will like, share, comment, we're going to gift you a free copy of either the EA College game or the Madden. But you do have to play one of us. If you beat us, then we'll give it to you. So there's a little catch right there.
Easy.
Not a chance.
So anyways,
y'all got it, guys. Y'all got it.
There's that going on. Like we said, we've got new shorts coming out. We've got pullovers. We've got T-shirts. We've got some different things coming out. Again, shout out to Cypress Creek for taking on our clothes, and we've got 3 or 4 other stores taking on PeakX. We're really excited about the future, but with that being said, we're just ready to jump in the podcast. So I'm going to let you start us off with some questions. If you want to start off down there, just ask him any question you got first off.
Let's do it. So, Coach Knott, you'll get to get us rolling here. And we'll start with some of the easier questions. I like to get into this, though. I'm a football coach myself. I love everything schematically about football, so we could just sit here and talk about that all day if we really wanted to. But I want to start out. Tell us about your coaching philosophy, especially in terms of just run versus pass. We'll kind of start there in terms of toughness in the game.
Well, I mean, I know everything's been trending toward throwing the football, but same thing's a win, always won. Playing defense, running the football. I mean, no matter what. But the main thing you've got to be able to do in high school, especially in single A, is run the football and stop the run. You do those 2 things, then everything else is good. And that's what leads over into toughness and practice, is those things like that. And, another thing that I believe in is I think you've got to help the kid. Absolutely. Okay, you've got to be a transformational coach where they understand that you care about them beyond the game.
I love that.
And then they will give you everything they've got to give then. Then you can get on to them, you can love them hard and stomp on them hard. So
I love that. That's great. Coach Markle, you're up.
Yeah, just kind of reiterating what he said about, caring for your players. You can't fool them. Kids going to see through if you faking it or if you really, truly, care about them. And some of our kids, they have great family lives and all things, and then we got kids that don't, and kids that need mentorship and kids that need structure and discipline. Even though, you think kids don't like discipline, they love it, they need it, they want it, and it gives them some type of, family bonding in a locker room. And these are memories, man. I mean, we all sit here and coaches, we're old, as you say, old heads and stuff. And, and you are guys, young guys that played ball, and you can remember back being in that locker room probably more than you can on the field. Mm-hmm. And the memories and the laughs and on the bus rides and the hard times at the camps and all the things. And when you see your buddies 10 years from now at the class reunions, and y'all ain't going to talk about, Spanish class. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk about, hey, you remember that time we went down there and we played whoever? We had to go play Brewston over there. It was raining and it was this, that, and the other. Like, those are memories that you'll cherish, even though football is only a small window of time. Those are memories you'll cherish, and really it's a building block for young men to become men, right? How to persevere, how to be accountable and dependable, good husbands, fathers, so on and so forth. And, as coaches, man, we're just a blip on the map in regards of helping young men usher them into that next phase of their life. And, I told a coach this summer, this is a thankless job, but probably one of the most rewarding jobs. Absolutely. Not many people are going to say thank you for doing what you do, but when a kid calls you and says, hey, Coach, can you come do something? Hey, Coach, hey, congrats on the win. Hey, Coach, hey, congrats on your kid being born or whatever. At the end of the day, that's love right there, you know, and that transcends all, right? Wins take care of themselves after that, you know, and so that's football coaching, man.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you know, you're gonna find out if I go last. You're gonna hear me reiterate. These
Hey,
guys,
ain't nothing wrong with it.
No, I don't want to go first. We'll let them. These guys have done it a lot longer than I have, and it's always fun for me to be able to sit and just listen to coaches talk that have been doing it longer than me. I've been blessed to be around some coaches over my career where, you know, I tell my young coaches, I have a young staff, like, always learn something from somebody. You can always learn something from somebody. Be a sponge. You know, don't ever get in the mindset that you know it all. So this is awesome, because hearing them talk, it's very similar to my mindset. And you know, as far as philosophy goes, you know, Coach Knott is still in the 1A world, and then Coach Markle, they bounce all over the place. It seems like, I don't know, you know, 1A, 2A. But I'm kind of 1A and a 4A mindset when it comes to schematics, you know, philosophy, schematics, meaning run game travels, defense travels, and you know, you hear the term travel, you think that's a pro term, but in high school you're more worried about the weather. You know, what you can't always control field conditions, you can't always control weather. Sometimes, you know, we've all been in them, those just real sloppy games where it's just, whether it's bone-chilling cold or water standing up to your ankles. And sometimes it's just nasty, and sometimes you got to get in there and be nasty with it. And so, you know, you got to be able to run, you got to be able to stop the run. But I'm also big on finding out what your team's good at. You know, it's hard asking average high school kids to be something that they can't be. So it's kind of a happy marry between what we feel as coaches, what our philosophy is, and what they naturally do well, and try to capitalize on that. And that's the challenge. You know, that's where the fun comes in as coaches. Say, hey, you know, this year we do this really well. This kid does this well naturally. All right, how can we build on it? Next year we might not have that. You know, it's just, we don't have the luxury of going out and getting, you know, players. We got what we got. And so I think that's 1A ball taught me that. You know, it teaches you. You might have 25, and that's what you have.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to find a way to put a product on the field. But
Hey, there are some special players go through 1A, though. I know there was a quarterback a few years ago at Union City. You know, you talked about memorable players.
Yeah.
there's some dudes.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, I'm fortunate. I think I may know him. But,
it's not a bash at 1A. I mean, I think 1A coaches and even some smaller 2A coaches are some of the most creative coaches in the game, because you have to find ways to be successful with less resources, and I think that's where the challenge is. And so it's not a bash at it at all. Very good football, and it's always a hodgepodge in what you see defensively. You know, there is no set offense or defense that you're going to see in 1A, and it could change week to week. I mean, it's always a grab bag, and that's the fun part. But yeah, you know, they talk about love. You got to love your kids. You have to win your kids over before you can worry about schematics or programs, because as coaches we demand a lot of them. And in order for them to meet that standard, they have to feel invested. They have to feel like, I am getting something out of this. And Coach Markle said fake. Kids read through fake. And I think football coaches hadn't gotten enough credit over the years in education. We knew those things well before education even started to speak about those things. And so I'm big on asking our coaches, like, hey, don't be something, or don't ask your players to be something that you're not willing to be yourself. If you're going to ask them to be this, then you have to portray that as one of their role models or one of their coaches as well, because that just lays the foundation for fakeness. And once you win the kids' hearts, things are powerful. I mean, I agree with Coach Markle. Wins will take care of itself, but the battle is winning your kids, winning the locker room, building that family, loving them, and then they'll go to battle. They'll go further than most high school kids ever thought they could. And it is rewarding. I've now been doing it long enough that I'm getting messages like, hey, Coach, I just had my first kid, or hey, Coach, I just got my first job. And that's awesome, you know, and I'm just now starting to experience that. I know these guys have probably experienced a lot of that, but I've now been doing it long enough that it's coming full circle for me. And so it's a new avenue for me to feel that, and it gives you a little bit of chills, like maybe I did something, you know, over those 2 to 4 years that kind of helped that, because you think back, like, you know, sometimes everybody's been a booger eater or a grass killer once upon a time in their life, and it just, I don't mean to be derogatory, it just is what it is. But
Dude, I love that so much.
Now,
I'm using that.
but now they're outstanding fathers, or they're outstanding husbands, or they're outstanding employees, and gosh, you talk about proud, man, it just makes you proud as a coach.
So I noticed one of the big things that you guys are talking about. This isn't one of my questions. Like I said, it's just I want to know different things. You guys spent so much time. Each one of you spent so much more time during your responses talking about the emotional half of the kid, not the physical, right? And I think that's just. I just kind of want to reiterate that, being a coach myself, how important the emotional side is of football, of that, making sure the kids, you love them, and because you love them, that allows you to coach them right, kind of thing. I love that. I think that's great. So how do you deal with those kids that you know need football more than football needs them?
You know, I do, and it's a little bit easier for me because I needed football more than it needed me because I was terrible. But they also.
I understand that.
My coach who I worked for, Coach Frazier, who just recently retired, understood that I wasn't good, but he understood that I needed that discipline, and he would, take me aside and tell me, "You're probably not going to play very much, but you are still important to this team," and you encourage them. I mess around with those guys and talk to those guys more than I do the guys that are going to play a lot.
Absolutely.
Because those kids like that right there need a lot more encouragement because they probably haven't had very much go good for them, and they understand that they're not very good. You don't have to tell the kid he sucks. He knows he's not good. Everybody and he gets it. Okay.
Yeah.
But you've got to encourage them, and I teach them when we step on that field. It doesn't matter how much talent you got because it takes zero talent to give effort. And the more effort you give, then the more things will turn out better for you. And if that's the only thing you learn, then that's the best thing that you can learn. Because sooner or later, it's going to come 6 a.m., mama's sick, baby's sick, you're sick, don't feel like going to work, but bills got to get paid. So, yeah, it's bad, but you got to get up and get your rear end to work so you can take care of this family. And that's sort of how I approach the kids that don't have quote-unquote talent.
That's great.
I don't want to cut anybody off, but I really like that because a lot of times what I see nowadays is a lot of young kids. I'm still 19. I'm not 20 yet. So, and I believe it or not, I did coach this summer. I coached a little AAU basketball team. Wasn't nothing serious, but what I've learned from that is a lot of these kids are going away from work ethic. And even myself as a kid, I'm just not going to sit here and act like I had work ethic. I mean, Coach Marco coached me in football. There had been times maybe I was skipping reps in the locker room, or there was times that I did.
See, this look here, there's a lot more than a few.
You want to swap seats?
Did you hear him say maybe? Yeah. Did you slide maybe in there? I might have.
There's deny until proving, guilty.
There we go. There you innocent until
I
proven
don't know.
guilty.
That little self, you just kind of admit it. Like, I think that's an admission.
So-
right? That kind of
That's a
We
confession
all
there.
know.
Yeah.
We all know.
The good thing is now, fingers crossed, I won't have to do any more push-ups or anything like that. But anyways, besides that, work ethic is like gone in a lot of kids. Like it's not taught nowadays. And I think a lot of times the coaches have to show that. And fortunately, I can't go back and change the way I was back then, and I can't change my work ethic then, but I've been fortunate to change it now. And I think that's something that's great as coaches. You get to instill that in your players, and just show them that every day, no matter what, 7 o'clock, here it comes. And don't get me wrong, I cannot stand waking up early during the summer and going to practice. I don't know whose decision that was, but golly, Bill. Anyways, but back to the point. I mean, it showed you.
You only made that mistake one year. You only made
We
that
gotta do push-ups here in the middle of the table.
mistake. Coach, it was fun,
Anyways, but no, just all jokes. But seriously, you had to be there every day, and it doesn't change when you go off to college, and it doesn't change when you go off to a job. The only difference is that you're on the other side of it now. You're saying, okay, guys, we got to be here at 7:30. You got to be here at 8, and you got to be focused and pay attention. Because if you don't focus and pay attention, then what's the point of you showing up for 3 hours?
Well, it's a multifaceted and kind of piggyback. I'm sorry.
You
can go ahead. What off Coach Knott? You have to understand the walk of life that the kid has, regardless of the talent. I think that's extremely important to understand. 99% of the time, I'm a firm believer, and there's always that 1%. So that's why I never say 100%. But 99% of the time, there's a reason a kid is the way that kid is. And a lot of times, if we understand that as educators or coaches, it helps us in dealing with hard situations, whether it be, maybe not the talent, most talented, or maybe handling frustrations hard or disappointment hard. And there's always, most times there's a story.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to what all these coaches talk about, loving your kids. But, we finish every day And my life has done a lot of turns over the last 2-3 years, and so we finish every day and reminding our kids that as much as you might not like today, there's going to be a point in time where somebody's going to rely on you. You're going to be a father, you're going to be a husband, you're going to be an employee, you're going to go do something that, looking back, and I wish I would have listened to my coaches when I played, because I heard the same spill, but you're a teenage kid and it go one ear and out the other, but it's again, it's coming full circle, and you remind them that this is teaching you habits that is going to make you a great man, a great man to be proud of, that people are going to be proud of you, and ultimately, yes, we want to win as many games as we can. Yes, we want to compete for championships. Don't get my words twisted with that. But we also want to produce outstanding young men in the best way we can, because at the end of the day, and it's becoming more and more common, at least for me, and I'm sure it is for these coaches as well, more and more kids don't know what that looks like. And where might be all they get and what that looks like. And kids don't know it, but they really want to be a part of something that's bigger than them. They'll never answer that question. They'll never say that because they don't understand what that means. But they crave that discipline. They crave that structure. They might be hesitant at first, but they love knowing that they can come to a place and they know what to expect. It's mapped out. Like they know what they're going to get when they walk into the facility, and they rally to that if it's done the right way, in my opinion. Now, Coach, go ahead. If you want to come over here and put a pop gun on his head,
You guys can just switch seats real quick and just get in arm's reach.
Jackson knows I love him. Jackson came in and wanted to play football his junior year, and really hadn't played any ball since middle school. He played a little bit freshman year, and our quarterback got hurt week 1, and so he became starting quarterback for about 9 games that season. And I think we went 7-4 that year at starting quarterback from a guy that ain't took a snap since 8th grade.
That's great.
And so like.
Full disclosure though.
I give Jackson a hard time. I give him a hard time, but
Full disclosure, you asked everyone else how the play works before each play. No,
I will say I could not read for nothing. So before, if anybody don't know, Union City loves to run veer. That's not anybody around here. Everybody knows
the triple
that.
option.
Just triple option, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I love the veer. I still have a scar.
You're wrong.
I still have a scar. So before, and that's another thing I want to talk about too, is players being bought in. I was not one of those players that I would say is fully bought into what we were doing, just because I did not like running it, and that was more of a selfish thing and a selfish way to act. And I want players to understand, like especially from a coach's view, is even when it maybe not be the best way to do something in any case, and even when I run things, if you buy in, your chances of success exponentially grow. And I think that was my fault. I love to throw the ball, and I may not have been good at it, and I don't care if I was or not, but I sure did want to throw the ball. So yeah, hey,
we have people in our stands wanted him to throw it. I know they're up there screaming.
Look,
Everyone else.
and before
commercial break, we go
He
there.
threw it. Hey, he threw it every time he didn't give it to the fullback because he didn't run it much. He either pitched it or handed it off.
I mean,
He got his throwing in. He got his throwing in.
But yeah, but look.
Hey, can I ask you a question, both of you young guys?
You can.
Here's one thing I do, right? And I've been coaching for a second now, and here as I've gotten a little older in this career, I've become trying to find a little perspective at my age and things, and so I try to talk to old coaches, like Coach Barnes and things like that, just picking his brain. I don't care about the X's and O's. The X's and O's stay the same. My question to coaches, old coaches, retired coaches, is if you could go back, what would you do differently?
Oh, man.
All right, so my question to you young guys is, on your daily walk in life, what tools did football give you that you still use on a daily basis?
Oh, man, I got you. So, for those that don't know, I played center back in the triple option offense. That is the flex bone, Army, Navy, Air Force, all that. That is all we did. Veer right and veer left. Maybe some speed sweep when we wanted it, but that was it. And one thing at center is that I think if you're going to be a good center, you need to understand the whole picture of the box. And that's a schematic term of the box, just being from tackle to tackle. When you're looking on a football field, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the D-line and the linebackers, and that's it. So when that happened, I felt I was a lot better at my job when I knew what everyone else was doing. But I didn't figure that out until college ball. I walked on over at UTM, and I had a lot to learn. I learned that I sucked, is what I learned. Because in high school, I thought for 1A ball, I'm a huge dude for 1A ball. Back then, I'm 6'2", 245, straight muscle. I was great for 1A ball. I was horrible for college ball. Everyone else at my position was a lot bigger and a lot smarter than I was. Those dudes that really knew what was going on, they could see the whole picture. And I've brought that into my daily life is I will not go forward with the situation until I understand as much of it as I can. And then I'll make my choice after that. I think back, especially in high school, I was just reckless. And I thought I was...
Preparation.
Preparation is the key. Absolutely, I would agree.
You know, I think it's a great question. It really is, just because I've seen both sides of it now. And my COO tells me all the time in my marketing business, you have to sharpen the axe before you start cutting down the tree. And that's so true, because you don't see the whole picture. You're just ready to play the game, and you're just ready to go out there on the field, and you're not ready to put in the daily work. And it takes a real disciplined individual you don't have to be excited about it, but to go execute it every day. You know, execution, I think, is the best word when it comes to any sport, is can you execute? Because coaches, in a sense, majority of them are good, and they know what they're talking about. That's their livelihood. Their kids depend on it. Their wife depends on it. So they're going to be there. But, you know, I would say for me, it taught me that I needed to be ready to execute, and that I needed to be prepared. Because in a sense, when I was a kid, I didn't show up prepared. Anybody who knows, I did not study for class. I did not care for class. I was not like that. I didn't prep for nothing. I went home, went to bed, ate, went to bed, and showed up and just did whatever was next on my agenda. Mm-hmm. So I would say that it taught me that I needed to be prepared and needed to execute.
Absolutely. So always comes back to preparation.
Preparation,
At the end of the day. I just got to echo that.
And this come up in my mind. I am curious. So there are kids, obviously, like that don't prep. You know, in your mind as a coach, how are you going to get across to them, or what is a way that you would say, okay, I know this kid's not going to prep. I know this kid's not going to study. I know he's not going to watch film. I know that.
All right, so I can answer a little bit of that. One of my little mottos is don't get mad at what you expect.
Don't get mad at what you expect. I like that. Okay.
Don't get mad. Don't get angry and you expect. I expected Jackson Chisholm not to watch film. So on Monday, why am I going to be mad that he don't know what the defense looks like? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? And so at the end of the day, these three guys right here, we're probably the dumbest three at this table, right? Because our livelihood is based on 16-year-old teenagers.
And you chose that, yeah.
As you just said, I got to take care of my kids and my wife and pay bills
Hats off to y'all.
off of emotional creatures, right, that make decisions not off of their brain capacity, but off of whatever emotion comes out at that moment, right? And so it's a thing to where high school kids, for the most part, let's just say 98% of them play football as a hobby.
Yeah.
I would agree. Just gives them something to do.
It's not a hobby for these men sitting at this table. It's what they're consumed by. They think about all the time. Coach gets pulled 10 different ways till 10 o'clock at night. People wanting to know about fundraising. People wanting to know about the bus trip to the next scrimmage. What time the baby need to be home. What time we need to get picked up. Why didn't he get home at the right time? Why isn't he getting playing time? Why is he not playing at right guard and he's playing left tackle? You know, and so to them, it's just another day. For us, it's our lifestyle, right? And it's what we have to accept. And like I said, and I used to be a guy that just got mad all the time and get frustrated. Mad's probably not the word, but frustrated. And then I just kind of got to where it's like, this is what I expect to happen on a daily basis. Why am I getting frustrated or upset of something that I know is probably going to happen? And if it don't happen, guess what? That's a plus.
It's a free day to
That's
you,
a
yeah.
plus.
I
Have
like
a good
that.
day. Smile. Take it as a blessing.
Well,
you
that's,
know.
I think a concern, and I'm glad you brought that up, is it's not a hobby to y'all, because it's not a hobby, it's y'all's job. But sometimes a lot of these kids, I noticed a decrease in the numbers of kids who play sports. I think every coach notices that. And I think the problem is everybody's trying to develop. Athletes are, in my opinion, better nowadays than they were, 20 years ago. They move faster, they They are bigger, they're stronger. I mean, kids are naturally growing a lot bigger, whether it's steroids in the chicken, like they say, or whatever it is. But they are bigger. And
I need some more chicken.
Tyson, here we go.
yeah, I'm gonna clip that line. That's gonna be a clip.
We need to get some more
But
chicken.
anyways,
I love it.
we're noticing a decrease in the kids, but because these kids have never had to make a commitment like they do in sports. So kids aren't ready to make the commitment, and you can go ahead and kind of talk about that if you want to.
I think you hit the nail on the head, but I think it goes back to what we've already talked about. Every one of these guys, and this is why I love listening to guys. That quote that he just said, "Don't get mad at what you expect." I'm going to take that. I've learned something from Coach Markle right now because you can ask my assistant coaches. I'm the world worst about letting little problems ruin my day. And not to the point that I just want to crawl into a corner and cower away, but to the point that it just frustrates me. It frustrates me when things, because we all as coaches, or even as y'all as employees, you have a plan about what your day is supposed to look like, how it's supposed to go. It don't ever work that way. And I've got to do better about just saying, hey, sometimes it bees that way, and we're just going to roll on with it. And that's advice of mine, and it's hard for me.
That should be on a shirt or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes it bees that way.
Yeah, it bees that way. I think you hit the nail right, the nail right on the head when it came to the commitment side of it. But I think it goes back to what they've talked about. How are you, as being in charge of a program, regardless of what the program is, what are you selling that kid? And ultimately, we don't like to call it that, but it's kind of what it is. Like, we're wanting these kids to show up in the summer in the heat and go through all these lifts, all these conditioning, and then we're in acclimation right now. The pads are coming out, and it's pouring down rain, or it's 100 degrees, and we're watching the heat index, and all these things. Think about what else they could be doing right now. Whether it's football, or whether it's basketball, or whether it's summer baseball, think about everything else that they could be doing their 2 months off of school. What are you selling them from your program that is going to get them interested and get them in the door? And once you do that, now the work comes in. Now I got to win that kid's heart.
Right.
I have to win that kid over. And then once I'm not saying anything that they don't know, but once you've won a kid over and you get them in the door, now you've got that foundation of they want to be here. Like, I have to run kids out of here when I'm ready to go home. I don't know about y'all, but my kids, for the most part, they don't want to go home. They want to stay here. Whether it's, we'll go down a laundry list of things that they'll do when we're done with practice or before practice, but they want to be here. And I love that they want to be here.
Yeah, and I hope the numbers rise to that. And I hope
again, coaches are impactful in a lot of different ways. A lot of people think of coaches as just schematic people. We just think about X's and O's, and that's what we do. And these guys have done it longer than me, and they'll tell you, as a head coach, that's probably the least amount of time put in to the actual schematics, because schematics are schematics. Everybody, if there was a one-size-fit-all offense and defense that made you compete for championships, everybody would be doing the same thing. Everybody would do the same thing, but it's the things that go on that nobody knows about coaches and what it is we do. Those things behind the scene, that's what makes programs powerful. That's
Right.
what makes teams powerful.
Right. I agree
And
with
so
that.
that's, again, I hate saying what car are you selling, but it's kind of that. Like, what are you selling the kids? What are they getting out of doing this? What are they going to get out
There's
of this?
definitely got to be some return
Yes, it has
return
to
on
be.
investment.
It
If
has
I'm
to
going
be.
to sit here and be here every day for 3 hours to 6 hours a day, what am I getting back? And I think that's the personality of a lot of kids.
And then some old heads may say, well, that's entitlement or that's selfishness. And, maybe. I never thought that way as a kid. I never did. I don't remember thinking that way as a kid. But,
It's also generational
yes,
as
the
well.
whole world has changed in access to technology, and there's so many different things they could be doing. And kids have always wanted to make money when they were in high school. I know I wanted to make money when I was in high school.
And if
But
NIL was around.
this mindset of what am I getting out of doing this? Like, what's in it for me? And I think it's just curiosity that kids have now. So I might be putting my foot in my mouth. These guys may not agree at all.
I do
but
want
that's
to ask a little more questions, especially for you coaches that are more experienced. What have you seen as the major key differences of kids from back at the beginning of your career potentially to now?
I can say from when I started, they would do it just because I told them to. And they would do it just as hard as they could, okay? And it's because an adult told them to do so. But as we've moved on in social media and you see how government and people in charge are full of crap, then kids want to know why.
Absolutely.
And I don't see a problem with telling them why we do anything. And I tell them every single time I'm doing something, or we're fixing to go into something, why we're doing it, how it's going to help them, how it's going to make us better. And if you think that it's not helping, then we can talk about it, okay? But everything that we do is for a reason. We're not out here running 54-40s because I think it makes you tough. We're not doing any stupid crap like that, okay? But what we do is important, and it's impactful to how, one, their health, two, their mental health, and three, treasuring their time. Because I tell them, I'm 52 years old, and in my 52 years, never have I got a minute back that I wasted. So don't waste any time, because sooner or later, you're going to wish you had that time back.
That's great.
And you don't get it back. There's no reset. So you have to be engaged in what you're doing right then. And then that's helped us move forward a little bit from when I first got there. But that's the one thing. I know I'm rambling, but kids, when I first started, they did it just because I told them to, and they did it as hard as they could because, one, Mom and Daddy was out there watching practice, and they didn't do it hard, and Daddy was coming out there. And but that doesn't happen now. So you got to give them a why for why they're doing things.
I like it. Coach Markle, what's that?
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
I think it's a generational thing. Probably over the last 5-6 years, you've watched children or young men. We'll say young men. Hard times happen and they fold up. They quit because it's hard. And us as human beings have to persevere. Nothing's easy. Everything's a challenge, right? And those tests prepare you for the next one and the next one and the next one. I've seen in the last, let's say 5-6 years, I've seen a lot of parents make excuses for their children that never happened 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that on my own team.
You sign up for football, you play football. You don't like football, you can quit at the end of the season. But you don't quit week 3. You don't quit whenever, coach made you run extra because you didn't do X, Y, and Z, and then mama wants to come up there and give you a lashing because little baby didn't have a good day, and we're just going to pull him out and take him elsewhere. It doesn't solve the problem. It makes the problem worse. And what does that parlay into? Jobs, right? I get into the real world. I got a job. Boss is on my head about not doing this, that, and the other. I quit. Okay, well, bills still have to be paid. So at the end of the day, it's perseverance in my mind of young men need to understand commitment and honoring commitments. The easy thing's quitting. That's the cowardly way out of it, And usually it goes into, if this kid quits me, I did him wrong somehow, right? Taking responsibility for it, accountability for it is something I think this generation struggles with as well. It's so much easier to say, well, he didn't like me, coach treated me poorly, the seniors picked on me, this happened and this happened and this happened, and not one time I ever looked myself in the mirror and said, what was my role in my shortcomings, whatever that might have been. That would probably be my best answer for, I would say, the last 5 to 6 years as an overall. Now, you still got those kids that are just ate up in it, but 15 years ago there was more of those guys. Now it's just a hobby, right? An extracurricular activity. When I played, it's all I thought about.
Yes.
It was football was school and everything else was extracurricular.
And I kind of want to mention, because I am the youngest guy. I'm 19, so it's not like I've been out of high school for a long time. But what I can tell you in the perspective from that is that when you're young, you're a kid, you're worried about going home, playing the game. Most of these kids are playing the game, going to hang. Like, where's everybody hanging out?
Right now, immediately, everyone's going home, parking themselves in front of the TV, and playing NCAA.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is, it's so, like you talked about technology, it's so accessible, it's so easy to go on and do nothing and enjoy it, in a sense. You can scroll through TikTok.
Man, we had Nintendos back in the day.
Nintendos ain't got nothing on
You know,
NCAA.
so like,
None. Lord, man, I'm gonna tell you something right now.
But here's the thing.
Jackson,
Here's the
Auburn.
thing's the difference though. Like with coaches, and we can say, you say, how fast can I get out of this locker room to get to wherever, to see wherever? My crew was in the locker room. I had no friends outside that locker room. When I got out of practice, I was with who I needed to be with. I didn't need to rush home and go hang out with the guy that was only played soccer or baseball or basketball, because my guys, we did everything, man. We went sport to sport to sport and started over every year, you know, and those, you don't see, we specialize.
Yep.
We got specialists. I only do this. I got this trainer. I got this pitching coach. I got this batting coach. I got this quarterback mechanic coach. I got to go to Nashville every other weekend. All that, you know, and what we have now with Huddle, right, with y'all, man, what a resource.
What a resource.
Like, that's what
Absolutely.
we've been talking about as coaches. We've been at camp, and like, we had no playbook. Coach said, this is the play. This is what you do, and if you screw it up tomorrow,
Yep.
it's going to be a rough day.
That's what it was. My coach came to me first day of camp. He goes, on veer right, you got on to play side A. And if I ever asked again, it was a problem.
Gospel. You better learn
That's
it right,
right.
then, son. That's the scripture, and you better know it. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And now you've got, hey, there's a playbook app in the Huddle. Hey, we can go in, put notes. You don't even have to come in to get chewed out on, you know, for messing up a block. Like, you can be you can be sitting in your bed, you know, eating popcorn and taking a lashing because you didn't block anybody. You know.
Just go, man, I sucked on that play.
But it's a hobby, right? Coach and I spend so many hours. You know, let's just say on average in a game week, we're spending somewhere between 8 to 12 hours on a game week just on film.
Agreed.
Now, coaches and I, we can go in on Huddle and we can look at our players every 7 days of how many minutes they logged in. Guess what? About 15.
And
Now
those
you
15
might have them 5 guys that are 8 up. They in there for an hour and a half. But then you got that star out there that thinks he's the baddest dude on the field. Hey, I don't need to know the scheme. I don't need to know this. Just give me the ball. And he's putting in 5-6 minutes a week. And then guess what? He's lined up wrong. He's blocking the wrong man on the edge. He on defense, he's got his eyes on the wrong key. We got blown coverages, easy 6 points. But he's still the man, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's a luxury. But nobody takes advantage because they take it for granted. But when we played, we didn't have them type of luxuries. It's either that or the hard way.
So just to be clear, for all our athletes that might listen to this, would you say there's a correlation between how much you watch film and the likelihood that you get playing time on Friday nights?
I
some
think
athletes
there's
are
a
just good.
correlation. I don't think it's a universal, but I know this. I know Ed Reed and I know Ray Lewis, 2 of the greatest to ever put a helmet on, Hall of Famers, first ballot Hall of Famers, watched more film because they had to figure out how to beat guys like Peyton Manning. They're the best athletes on the field, watching the most amount of film.
Absolutely.
What do I need to say?
Yep. If the best in the world do it, why wouldn't we?
It goes back to what you were talking about earlier, the preparation. As coaches, nothing is better. There's not a better feeling than when you're going through a practice and you're doing formation rec or you're doing offensive script versus their defense, you know, the scout defense, whatever you want to call it. When the kids are calling things out based off what they see in practice on a Tuesday or maybe a Wednesday, hey, I can tell you right then, I can't promise what's going to happen on Friday night, but I can promise you we're going to play extremely well because my guys, they know. They know. It's not us as coaches behind them having to yell out and say, hey, you know, this. Like, they see it. And so that's powerful. That goes back to that player-led team. They take ownership. They take accountability. It's theirs. We're nothing more than glorified fans if you want to get to the meat and potatoes on it on a Friday night. I mean, the hay's in the barn on Thursday. It'll be what it is going to be. But when you've got kids that are on that field between the white and they are prepared and they know when they see things or they hear a call, it's just, man, it's so fun. That's when it just gets to the point as a coach, you're like, hey, my guys are ready. No, it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but it'll guarantee you that you're in a good spot to go compete.
That's great.
If you're not that way, I can guarantee you that you're not going to be successful.
Absolutely.
That's the nitpicky thing about it.
What did you tear up?
We're on a podcast. Sorry, y'all go ahead.
So, guys, one thing I do want to ask, and I think this is especially fun for you guys, Coach Markle, because I know you came from Mumford. I had a buddy of mine, Tyler Cody, that played for you. And
my guy.
I got to meet him over at UTM when
Yeah,
he walked on.
Yeah.
Great guy, one of my best friends.
Wonderful dude.
And crazy smart. He's an engineer over in Jackson now. Of course he is,
He was definitely going to do great things.
One thing I wanted to talk about, just to get a shift in topic, is I want to talk about the difference between big and small school football.
There's a lot, really. I mean, at the end of the day, it's coaching ball, so it's more logistics at that time. I mean, I'm coaching at Mumford. Mumford's a 5A school. I've got, on average, 90 players. I don't even mess with
Wild, right?
I don't even mess with freshmen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even mess with them. Like, they've got their own locker room. You know, I would know the guys, right? Like a guy that might be able to get on kickoff team, a guy that might be able to spell at a corner. You know, and those are very few and far between, too. Like,
Especially being freshmen.
At 5A ball, when you're having to play all inner city Memphis and the freaking studs they got down there, track meets that you're having to run every Friday night, you know. But for the most part, man, it was just a logistic thing. How do we get them to the games? How much is it going to cost to feed all these guys? You know, we take them to camp. How much room do I have to have? Do I need a trailer to pull the equipment? Those type of things. And what, like we're talking about as a head coach, I'm fortunate enough to have two wonderful, phenomenal, two of the greatest I've ever worked with coordinators. And to be honest with you, I'm like the CEO. Like, his senior year, I called timeouts.
Nice.
On Friday night, what can I do?
And that's really all you had to worry about.
Yeah, and I'm worrying about a lot throughout the week and trying to take all that pressure off my coaches. My coaches just coach football. That's all I want them to worry about. They worry about a lot more just because they're great men. But I want them to feel comfortable just doing their job. I'll take bullets off of them. They don't have to worry about administration, parents, all that stuff. I talk to parents. I talk to administration. I talk to all the people that, you know, need something from us. And our guys are kind of insulated in regards of, y'all coach the ball.
That's great.
You know, if I've got to go to a rules meeting, you know, hey, let's get out there, let's run some fundamentals, let's do some 7-on-7, get a quick lift in. I'll be back in an hour and a half. I'm fortunate. That's a blessing. I didn't have that at the 5A school. You know, I'm coaching at a 5A school. I'm coaching offensive line, receiver, quarterback, running back, many days. Defense, I'm coaching D ends, D tackles. The safeties are out of position. I'm getting them fixed. The corners are out of position, reading the wrong key.
And head coach, that's not a position you want to be in.
And you only got two eyes, so it's very impossible to be sound, right? You're going to have some gaps in there somewhere. You just can't do it all. And so, you know, smart men surround themselves with smart men.
I love that.
I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, and you come in my coach's office, I'm not. You know, I try to be a guy that is the glue that binds. If I can keep everybody in the fray and everybody's feeling good and everybody's on the right task and happy workers work hard.
Happy workers work hard.
Right? And so we want to keep everybody as content and as happy. And Coach tell you, man, it's a marathon. We ain't even put a toe on the starting line yet. Absolutely. You know, Halloween is a long road ahead. Yeah. You know? and so he and I were talking before we even started. Sometimes you get kind of in the quicksand in a season and you fight it, you go deeper in it, you know, and sometimes you make your own problems. You know, maybe you create a conflict that's not even there with another coach on, you know, maybe it's the assistant principal, maybe it's the athletic director, maybe it's the baseball coach, maybe you had a run-in with the lunch lady or something, you know, and you created a problem that you had to deal with that you didn't even have to deal with to start off because you couldn't get out of your own way.
Absolutely.
And that's a young man problem. As I've gotten older, I've realized, man, I created so many problems for myself. If I'd have just taken a step back, reflected on what was going on, analyzed the situation, and cooler heads prevail. But sometimes, freaking hot-headed coaches, you just like, it should be this way, right?
Absolutely.
And guess what them assistants coaches are saying? I'm with you. And so they just throw fuel on the fire, and then you just, sometimes the bus has done left the station, you can't get back, and just like, and then you're boo-boo the fool,
Right.
and so it's just a thing to where you want to be consistent as a coach for your community, for, hey, these guys aren't coaches. These guys are teachers. These are educators, right? They go and educate before they ever blow a whistle. And a lot of times that gets lost too. Like, a good coach is a good teacher. They are the same person. If you're not instructing and doing the things on the football field, you're going to lose a lot of games. And if you're not teaching those standards, you're going to lose a lot of jobs.
Yep.
So, it's a thing to where you have to be an educator, a coach, a mentor, a father, a psychiatrist. It just all falls under the umbrella of head coach.
Absolutely.
And so it's a heavy weight to carry sometimes, but good men like Coach Knott, man, it's a thing to where and he'll tell you, there's many days you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, what am I doing? And then that phone call comes through and the kid tells you, Coach, I love you. That's why.
I've seen that. Just the best thing is just for those little moments. Are you willing to wait? Are you willing to wait in between when those moments happen? Is when it comes down to, do you want to be a head coach? Are you ready for it? Kind of a thing. And
if you expect those moments to happen consistently, you are in the wrong business. Okay, and it also takes the feeling away, the importance, the significance, right?
Like that.
If I have a kid tell me, Coach, man, you're the greatest, whatever, but it's that 8 years later when that kid that everybody pushed aside and said, you ain't gonna make it, you ain't this, you ain't that, and you're the only guy that gave that person attention. And then that person calls you 8 years later and say, Coach, I'm married, I got 2 kids, I got a great job, and I wouldn't be here without you.
That's great.
Those need to be few and far between for you as a coach to understand the significance of what you're doing in your role as a leader of young men.
That's great.
I love that, and we've been talking for a while, so I got 2 things that'll kind of wrap this up. One question being this, and it's not like schematics, but I'm going to kind of get back to the football. Everybody in the stands always says it's fourth quarter, it's tied, you're on the 5-yard line. Are you doing this? Are you doing this? When it comes down to a play like that, are you going with your gut or are you looking at numbers? When you look at this game, you say game define. It's not what defines the game. Everything defines the game up to that point, but that's the play that everybody remembers. What do you as a coach sit back and look at when it comes to making that call?
So like you asking just what play you want?
Yeah, no, yeah, like if you want to kick a field goal or if you want to go for it. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of situation.
And we can even get you a situation real quick. Say we are just inside field goal range. We'll call it the 30 and act like we all have great kickers everywhere. And we are on the right hash.
You took my answer right out of my mouth. I think it's a little bit of both. Number one, you got to know how much faith you have in that special teams unit. The snap, the hold, the kick. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
It's a very technical part of the game.
Right.
And so I've been blessed some years with a good group of 3 that do those things, and I've been blessed with some years, and I'm sure they can tell us. Some years you don't know where the snap's going to go.
Some years
you
the
don't know where the
personality
kick's
is a lot
going to
better
go.
than the snap.
And so I think that plays into your decision making.
Yeah.
And I've made wrong decisions when it comes to those situations. In hindsight, it's always 20/20, and There's one time we kicked one and we missed it and thought, we might have had a better shot. When it doesn't work out, boy, you look when it works, you look like a genius.
Right.
And then when it doesn't work, you look like you've got no clue what you're doing.
Right.
And that's just the nature of being a head coach. But I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And it's something I take into account. I'm sure they do as well. The flow of the game. How's the game going?
Yeah,
How much
like that.
time's left? Are we going to get the ball back if we tie it here? Or do we really need to go up by one? And how's the defense playing? Or there's a lot that goes into it, and I think it's important why you got to surround yourself with really good men on your staff. So as a head coach, you can have that forethought of, you can see how the game's going. It's not hard to pick it up as a coach if you know your program, you know the game. You can understand the path that the game's going to go down. It might get to a situation here. It's back and forth, or we're stagnant. Is the offense stagnant? It's not just as simple for me as a card that
Right.
says, okay, we're down by 2 with this much time left. Here's what I'm going to do.
Right.
It's not just that for
Right.
me. Now,
Yeah,
there's,
no, I like that.
there's some
Absolutely.
coach, and they
Answer.
may be in this room, they may say, no, I live and die by the card. I know some that do. But for me, there's a lot more that goes into that decision when that time comes.
Right.
That's great.
Well, Jackson, I'm not an analytics guy. I'm as far from that as humanly possible. I'm a gut guy, man. Just
Yeah.
whatever the field is at the moment in time.
Yeah.
For a good example is last year we're playing Dresden in the regular season, and it's a tied ball game, and really and truly that's the region title game right then, and they're going up to kick a field goal to win the game. Time's going out, and I've got a timeout. Do I ice the kicker or do I not ice the kicker? I had already made the decision I'm not going to ice him. He had been kind of off and on throughout the game. I felt like at that moment in time, if I were to ice him and he missed it, and then I gave him an extra try and he made it, then I'm the fool. And so I didn't ice him. And guess what? He made it, so I'm still the fool, right? But I don't live in the regret of making that call. I wish it would have gone in our favor. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I think is the move at the time. I went for 2 my first year against McKenzie, against a really good, well-coached Coach Comer's team. And we all the way to overtime, I believe. And I went for 2 for the win and not the field goal to tie. And they stopped us, and we lost. And I do not regret that call, not one time. I'm a gambler, man. Now, our defense coordinator hates me because I will run a fake punt out of my own end zone because I'm just a riverboat gambler sometimes, and those don't work out all the time, but when they do, I feel real good about them.
I'd hate to play Madden against you.
I'm like the guy from Arkansas. We don't punt or kick off deep. We're always doing something silly.
Good answer. Yeah, good.
It's always good. I mean, especially in single A, because we don't have a consistent kicker all the time, and you really, no matter what level it is, you always got to think players and not plays, and you go with the one that brought you. Like Clayton and I had a game, 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was.
And it was back and forth, and we were on the 1 yard line, and he knew I was going to give it to Dallas, and everybody knew I was going to give it to Dallas. I would give it to Dallas again.
Did you run power?
Yeah, and
I wasn't even there.
And they stopped it. And they stopped it at the 1 yard line. Well, half yard line.
Coach
well,
loves power.
So Dallas he had been their dude that
Yeah.
night. It just he was hard to hang. He was always falling forward. He was always falling forward, and that was, I think, if I think back to the film games on him prior to that, he hadn't ran that way.
No, he hadn't.
He had not ran that way up until that night, and the stars aligned. I'm like, dadgummit, where'd this kid come from? And so that was a good one.
Good.
That
I
was
think
fun.
those are phenomenal answers. Because people always say, "Oh, if I was that, I'd have done this," and we've all been in that situation. Well, I'd have made this call. But it really comes down to it. Y'all spend the most time with y'all's players, so y'all know what you're going to get and what you're not. You know the chances of what you're going to get. At the end of the day, like you said, it's never 100%. But
he broke that linebacker's collarbone, by the way.
Did he?
On that hit. Yeah. He did. It was. You remember how loud?
I
it
do.
Was, that
It was.
pop?
That's good.
Yeah. Pop that collarbone right there.
Yikes.
Good kid, both of them. But yeah, sorry, I don't think I ever told you that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
but
Sorry.
no, it's all good. Trust me. Look.
Oh, he's fine. He's coaching over at UTM as we speak.
There we go.
So he's good.
Well, I just want to say thank y'all for y'all's time. I hope y'all seasons goes good. We're gonna have all three of y'all schedule pop up on the screen so everybody can see when and where y'all playing, so we can come out and they can show y'all support. We hope nothing but the best. If y'all need anything from us, feel free to reach out. But we are very thankful for y'all's time. There were some great answers, great conversations. There's gonna be some great clips from this, and we just appreciate it. So, with that being said, thank you all for all the viewers who watched this. Go check out our website, peakxperformance.com. Go check out what we got going on. We just partnered with 4Ocean. That's what I'm wearing on my wrist. They clean up trash out the ocean. So for every time you buy from 4Ocean, they clean up, I think, 1 pound of trash. So we just partnered with them. Great thing going on. Do some good in the world, and we appreciate you. And I know the players appreciate all three of you. So anyways, that being said, PeakX, thank y'all. Have a great day.
Peace.